streaming. Oh, welcome back. Oh, folks, if you are watching this, we're trying to get on the air here. PJNet. Okay, we are streaming now. PJNet.TV. It's 9 p.m. on the East Coast. And yes, we are streaming. We are streaming on Facebook. We are streaming on Twitter. We are streaming on YouTube. You name it, we're there. Bumper running, recording, happening, and we've got Batman and Robin standing by in our green room. Let's start a countdown to Studio 21. Well, it looks like we are on the air. It is 9 p.m. here on the East Coast, and this is PJNet.TV. Folks, it is crazy around here. Barbara is enjoying a commencement ceremony, and she'll be here any time now, but in the meantime, I have to run things. But fortunately, it's that time of the month for EYF Podcasts. That would be Dave and James, who, folks, when people sign into our green room, you know, they have to put some kind of name. So they put Batman and Robin. So I knew it was, so I didn't know. So I just put Dave and James, and I didn't know who would be on the left and who would be on the right. So folks, let me just clarify here. Dave is on the right. James is on the left. Okay, the names are right. They're just out of order. Okay, but anyway, folks, guys, that does not look like the garage I'm used to seeing. I see a lush chair back there. Let me guess. There's a 65-inch television somewhere, and you can't see it, but no doubt there's an ice cooler just on the right. Right, you just reach over. Or train your dog to get you a cold one, you know. It's the man cave. It's the perfect man cave. It doesn't get any better than that.
No, sir. It is good.
It is. I see a fan running back there. Do you do any exercise in there, really? I mean,
absolutely. Every day. I did my 500 push-ups a day, and I did 100 dip. Was my workout for today.
I do 100 dips a day too, but it's Copenhagen. Looking at the clutter back there, I don't think there's any. You couldn't cuss a cat without getting a mouthful of fur. So I don't know where you're doing all this stuff. How much equipment do you have in there?
It's an expansive garage. This is my one room that my wife allows me to have and to claim as my own. So I have decorated it in filth, and because that way I get to keep it to myself. James is the only one who'll come over and sit with me.
Yeah, I sit in that nice chair.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, you said that you're going to carry the program tonight because I am ill prepared. My air conditioner went out over the weekend. We're remodeling the house. The trim guy just came in. In fact, he came in the door after we start the program, no doubt wanting payment. It's like, sorry, that ship has sailed. And so it's a little crazy over here right now. But my daughter is headed into town. She'll arrive tomorrow, I think. Hadn't seen her in over a year.
Wow.
So, we're living in the camper while the bathroom is being remodeled. So my life is a living mess, but not so at EYF Podcast. You two have everything under control. And everything's fine. Everything's going well. In fact, there's really nothing to report. We could just tell jokes the rest of the night, right? But
well, I don't know how many viewers would stick around, but yeah, we could give it a shot.
What'd you call it? The Chuckle Hut?
Yeah. I'm the comedy relief at school as well. So in our classes, that's what I try.
School is about to wrap up, isn't it, out there?
Yes, sir.
So what are you going to do?
No, we got about 2 weeks left, and then a little break from the online schooling, and maybe some break from the podcast as well. We'll see.
COVID ends officially on June 14th, so it's only got another
Has
2.5.
COVID been notified of that?
Yeah, I think it has, and so it's going to. Yeah, it has to leave
by presidential decree. There's an executive order that. And
Yeah, so we're going to go back to regular face-to-face school because right now COVID can still beat you upside the head and chase you down in an empty parking lot. But once June 14th comes around, we win. So we'll be back in school with kids face-to-face at that time.
Well, the school's over until
Well,
next year,
summer
right?
school's coming up.
Oh, and you work summers?
Well, this year they're paying a tremendous amount of money, and I'm going to hopefully retire next year from teaching, so I'm going to take advantage of it, I think.
You know, I'm not a teacher. I enjoy coaching, which is kind of like teaching, but it's actually teaching on steroids. It's relevant teaching. Anyway, a lot of teachers I've referred to say that there are 3 reasons that they chose that profession: June, July, and August.
So 3 valid reasons.
Podcast wise, you all have. I wanted to, if you don't mind, and if you can't, I get it. I understand the nature of the business, but you record these things in advance. And I remember one time we had a guest on here that was very powerful, but format wise, he took the mic, and 40 minutes later he ran out of breath, and then I got to say something, and that doesn't really fit in your format, or at least you thought so until recently.
Right.
Yeah, no, we recently got a chance to speak to Delphine Kirkland, and she was a reference from Becky Lindsay. And man, you just talk about a house of fire, man. She spoke so much truth and with so much passion, and her story is truly amazing. Like, it wouldn't surprise me. Like, you could see that story unfolding in the Bible, and the way she tells it with so much charisma. Like, me and Dave, like, we were just looking at each other and we were smiling the entire time, and we didn't even have a question. Like, we were just listening. It was so good. So,
well, you get the night off. You know, you can just turn your mics off, lean back, get a cold one, and just listen to her captivate. You know, and some people have. I think it's a gift in terms of delivery. But that gift alone isn't enough. There has to be a story, and usually when there's a story, there's a conflict, there's a struggle of some kind.
Yeah, she was having medical issues, and she decided at one point in time that she was just going to stop going to the doctors because nothing that they were doing for her was working. And so for 3 years, she battled, what was it, leprosy, right?
Yeah. Skin disease.
Yeah, she battled leprosy, and she never went to the doctors. Everybody tried to convince her otherwise. She told everybody that Jesus was going to heal her, and nobody believed her.
Yeah, and she stuck to it. You know, people would come to her and say, hey, you got to go to the doctor, you got to do this. And she's like, no, God's going to heal me. I'm going to stick to what his word says. And sure enough.
Yep, and she was healed. And if you look at her today, there's not a single... I mean, it's an amazing deal. Yeah.
Very exciting.
So we've got Coach here. He's running about 9 different shows here today.
Yeah. So you know what? You know what else? We've been talking about some different topics on the show, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're excited to share some of that because we've kind of not taking a break from the interview kind of format, and we've been talking about more topic-based shows, and we're excited about that.
Yeah, our first one came out, I believe it was 2 days ago, and that's like the role of the pastor.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, the role of the pastor in the church and the role of us as parishioners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think it was what was good about the show, and just encourage you to go back and listen to it. But the idea being that, you know, I think there's a lot of disappointment in the church because people have certain expectations of their pastor when their pastor's job is to teach the will of God, which is Jesus, through Jesus Christ. And I think people go into there to church to feel good. And then when they don't feel good, or when they walk away and they're not feeling as good when they walk through their week, then they could be disappointed. And so we just kind of go through that and explain that whole thing. So check that one out.
Yeah. And, you know, Coach, you always talk about the biggest thing you've done.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were talking about that. One of our upcoming shows talks about this idea of risk and how God is the ultimate risk taker. Because when you stop and think about it, God sent his son to die for us on the cross without any guarantee people were going to believe it. We're going to buy into it. We're going to accept it. I mean, imagine sacrificing your own child, for somebody else without any guarantee that they're going to, like say, to buy into it. And how many of us are literally wasting our time by not taking the risks. And I'm not talking about, going and riding their bike on the freeway. I'm talking about stepping out for God and doing the things that he's put in your heart to do, but we're afraid to do because we're afraid that somebody's going to judge us or condemn us or whatever. And God is the ultimate risk taker. So that's another topic.
Let me put that the other way, because I had a good friend who was basically at the end of his life, and he was scared. I mean, he said, does God really forgive all sins? And he started enumerating all these terrible things I said, it doesn't matter what you've done. I said, think of it this way. If Jesus dying on the cross didn't guarantee your salvation, if you accept it, then God is both an idiot and a murderer. Think about that. Okay? And it works both ways. I mean, there was no guarantee, as you said, but then God, if that wasn't enough, then why'd he do it? If that wasn't enough, it's unfathomable to me. I mean, if you told me it would save the whole world, to sacrifice my daughter, well, the whole world would just have to die. It's just,
right. There would be very little.
I don't. You're on your own, buddy. But it ain't going to happen. By the way, I had to step out, folks. We are in total mayhem here. We have a first-time guest who got. Anyway, we are winging it. Okay, as best we can. Now, Dave, I don't know if you were serious or if you were just kind of tongue-in-cheek saying that you're thinking about retiring soon.
Yeah, I'm thinking about retiring from education, but not working. I think there's a point in time in everybody's work life where you've got to say, okay, it's time to move on to another challenge, and that's what I'm looking forward to do. I want to work for God full time. Not that I'm not already, but
without the distractions.
Yeah, that would be awesome. But as you know, there is no way to get away from any distraction, because as soon as you say you're going to do something like that, the enemy's going to come right alongside you and try to trip you up and get you to do things that you don't necessarily want to do. But that's the goal. 30 years is enough.
Yeah, it's a real struggle, and I can identify because on the one hand, our job is our provision. The funds, in many cases, I don't know how you guys operate, but my day job funds this ministry. We wouldn't have, right. Okay, so you're grateful for the provision, but I can honestly report to you at this time, the single largest obstacle to this ministry is my day job. And so I've had to think of it like an assignment, something like that. But, and it really takes a toll on you. And, at some point you have to make a decision. Now, let's say that you do make that decision. Well, James isn't, he's not retired. So you can plunge yourself, Dave, full bore into EYF podcast. But where does that leave James? Have y'all had any discussion about this? Maybe now's the time.
yeah. Well, and that's it's interesting that you say that, because that actually what's led to that episode was the idea, if we say that God can do exceedingly abundantly we could ask or think, then don't we owe him a life of risk? And so to think that, if Dave retires and I'm still working, that this still wouldn't work, well, who's my God? You know what I mean? So absolutely it could work. And matter of fact, it could thrive. And so we believe in a big God. We believe in big dreams. And so we want to do big things for him.
And I'm more of a type A personality. James is like a type A minus, in the sense, I'm talking with my hands. I'm doing all this kind of stuff. And so I want to do stuff physically also that I want our ministry to manifest itself in actual physical things that help people, and help people see God. I mean, just today, just this morning on the way back from a thing that I did, I saw so many homeless folks. And not that I want to rush and solve all their problems, but it's like there are so many hurting people out there that they need you to stop your car and go talk to them for 5 minutes. But today I had to rush back to, home so I could get ready to teach. So I had to pass by like 6 people that I could have, if I didn't have the constraints of time, I could have stopped and just said, hey, let's have a conversation about your situation. Do you know Jesus? Can I pray for you? Is there anything that, we can talk about today? And those are the things I think we miss when we're so busy.
I think there's a wonderful opportunity, and I would love to be able, like you said, to stop. So what I'd like to do is prepare. Always have a sack lunch in the car, 2 of them really, and have your radar up. And when you see that person that you can minister to, stop and say, "Hey, let's have lunch." And you got to eat, right? Well, pack 2 bags. It's that simple. And they need the food. They would appreciate, but now you're capitalizing on the time. And hopefully, Dave, I hope that you pursue that. And I hope that you don't just beat them over the head with, churchy stuff, and take time to listen, take time to, minister to them as the way Jesus did. You know what I'm saying? But I think that sometimes we see disadvantaged people, whether they be homeless or as captive audience.
Right. Like they got to listen to you, and I don't think they necessarily do. You gotta take time to talk to people.
Well, show them some respect. You know what I'm saying? As a human, and just take time with them, because I think that because they've had these experiences, so the guard is up, the fence is up. I think if you just sat down and said, "Here, let's just eat. Tell me about, how did you get to this place in your life? Has it always been this way, or did you, I think there's ways to get them to open up. And if you listen, then you know how to apply the appropriate scripture, that ministers to them in their hour of need. And I guess the problem here is you really can't rescue them in 30 minutes over a sack lunch in terms of changing their lifestyle. But we can't ignore it. We can't just say, well, it's like, remember the story about the starfish that had washed up on the shore?
Right.
And they, that one you saved, it meant the whole world to him or her, whatever.
Right. Jesus can do it.
Yeah.
Jesus can step in and right there in that moment in time, make that change.
The Bible says to walk in love and be the light. Walk in love and be the light. So if you can do that, then all the other stuff will take care of itself.
Would it be scary? Is there any inherent danger, really? What if they accost you and take your car? What if they take your money? What if they beat you up? What if they, are those real? Or do we just kind of imagine those things to give us an excuse to get out of it?
I think we give an excuse. James helped me out. I found some furniture down in Hollywood a couple of weeks ago, and so I called my right-hand man and said, dude, we got to go down there. And I didn't realize where we were going, but we were really in the belly of the beast. And it was amazing. The people that we saw, I would not have necessarily pulled over to some of those things. I mean, some of these guys were shooting up and doing stuff. I didn't want to get jabbed. But it was an eye-opening experience. But I like my things to be a little less potential for violence. Yeah.
Okay, folks. For those of you who can't see behind the scenes, our guest at the bottom of the hour has arrived and connected to our studio, and that's miraculous given the circumstances. So we're near the end of our time, Dave and James. Tell me. Wrap it up, or here, if you've listened to their podcast, let's bring it in for a landing. You can always tell when the podcast is about over. They say, well, let's just bring it in for a landing. So bring it in for a landing, Dave and James, the podcast mission, life, ministry. Wrap it up for us.
Well, I would just encourage, those of you who haven't heard the podcast to take a listen, especially with our most recent episodes. We're doing a lot of topic-based, a lot of teaching, a lot of application, and we still got our words of the week going on with Bruce Pulver, which has been so fruitful. I just think that there's a lot there, and, Jesus is in the word, so come and listen.
Yeah, you can never go wrong by listening to somebody else tell their story, like you were just saying. One of the great things we can do is encourage folks to tell their story, and that's what we're doing. So if you like a good story, and we've had many of them, we would encourage you to take a listen, and you can ignore us, but don't ignore our folks that we bring on.
Well, David James, I'm really proud of you. By this time we meet again next month, school will be out and back. In fact, COVID will be a thing of the past.
COVID will be done. I promise.
It will be a thing of the past, and we can return back to the old normal that is actually the actual normal. But guys, I love you, and I just praise God for what you're doing ministry-wise, and we want to encourage you to keep going, and we want to do all we can to be your partner in ministry, and we appreciate you partnering with us and sharing with us the way you do.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
All right. Folks, we are getting it done. Hey, there you see the eagle eye view of the Eagle's Nest. That would be the broadcast facilities here at pjnet.tv. Folks, the fun is not over. As good as that was, at the bottom of the hour, we have a first-time guest. We do. And I've got a little work to do between now and then, and I'm going to remember to play something in the interim for those of you logged into our chat room. But before I leave, I want to challenge you with 2 questions to ask yourself. Here's the first one. What is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? The second question is, well, when was that? And I certainly hope that none of us will be satisfied with either answer.